What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Dean's Controversy Boxing, man. I wanted to mix this thing up a little bit, man. So me and my wife is going to be reacting to the most gruesome MMA injuries of all time, man. This is really, really gruesome, man. And appreciate you guys for stopping by to watch it with me. Y'all do three things for me, man. Like, subscribe, and hit that bell for updates, notifications to the channel so that you won't miss the live streams. But without further ado, man, let's get into some gruesomeness, man.
Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome back to Fight Focus. And for today's video, we will be covering the most gruesome MMA injuries of all time. Also, if you enjoy this video, please make sure to drop a like, subscribe, and comment what video you want to see next. Let's get to it. It's not a surprise that injuries come with the territory in mixed martial arts. While every fighter deals with the usual bumps and bruises inherent in MMA, there are some injuries that are just so insane and sometimes so gruesome that they could even make a hardcore Saw fan cringe. And once in a while, like in the case of the Ultimate Fighter alumni Ray Elby, these crazy injuries can unexpectedly occur outside of the cage. Mixed martial arts is a duel between the fearless. It takes immense strength of will for fighters to master their emotions and remember that regardless of the damage they absorb, they're in a game of human chess. And most of the time, they do. We've heard many tales of fighters suffering broken bones early in fights and still soldiering on. But sometimes even the hardest of fighters suffer injuries so frightening that fights have been stopped to save them from further harm or they are left screaming in agony. So without further ado, this is the most gruesome MMA injuries of all time. Number 13, Julia Avila. The night's headliner featured a war for the vacant bantamweight title between Sarah Kaufman and Katarina Leonard. In another fight on the night's card, bantamweight Julia Avila made her big Invicta FC debut against Marcia Allen. Allen would ultimately earn a TKO victory via injury over her opponent after smashing Avila's hand with a kick.
That's incredibly tough, and I'd probably be screaming and crying, but you know.
The strike landed at a strange angle on Avila's hand,
look at that
grazing
bone.
the fighter's finger. Avila suffered a compound fracture from the blow, with part of her bone
Ew.
sticking out of the skin due to the break. Number 12, Rustam Khabilov vs Yancy Medeiros. Medeiros started his MMA career 9-0, but had been out of the cage for nearly 3 full years due to a knee injury. The UFC was looking for a relatively easy opponent to help build Khabilov, but the fight went in a very bad direction.
Watch his hand, bank. There it is. Yeah, that's where he dislocated his thumb.
While defending a suplex, Medeiros put his hand down on the mat. As he landed, torque was applied to his thumb, dislocating it. Medeiros called the referee's attention to it, which led to a stop in the action, followed by a stop of the fight.
Look at that
Number 11, Alex Nicholson vs Misha Serkinov. In a main card light heavyweight battle, Latvian-Canadian Misha Serkinov entered the octagon opposite of America top team Orlando's Alex Nicholson in a battle for position in a division still somewhat in flux. The former Hard Knocks Fighting Championship standout flustered the Spartan on the feet, landing hard shots while the Floridian attempted a variety of spinning attacks with no setup. This continued through the first round and into the second, leading to multiple takedowns by Serkinov. Eventually, the Canadian took Nicholson's back and went for a face crank, clamping down the American top team product's jaw so much that it audibly popped.
For this kind of covered up, he needs to grab a wrist.
Oh, that's it.
Now just sit there and imagine if Khabib hadn't let go when he had Conor in the fulcrum. Yeah, it's gonna suck. Number 10, Steve Cantwell vs Razak Al-Hassan. You go back and watch the fight now, and you can see the moment where Razak Al-Hassan is presented with a choice. Trapped in an armbar expertly applied by Steve Cantwell, his attempts at an escape already thwarted with a minute still to go before the horn sounds, and the ref steps in to save him. Al-Hassan faced a rapidly narrowing series of options.
Wow. Man, he's not giving up.
He might have to tap here.
He broke.
No broken bones, no surgery.
He
He did
didn't?
physical therapy for a few months, but that was about it. Number 9, Brandon Vera vs John Jones. Brandon Vera received more than a bruised ego on that Sunday night at the First Bank Center in Broomfield, Colorado. A fearsome elbow strike from opponent John Jones left the UFC light heavyweight with facial fractures and an unknown return date.
Good job defensively, though. Big elbow. Ate a shot there. Oh, yeah, that hurt. He's hurt. John Jones looking to finish. Vera's hurt.
The strike caused 3 fractures in Vera's right cheekbone. The fighter's manager, Matt Stansel, told MMAJunkie.com the whole right side of Brandon's face was numb. Well, yeah, that's gonna happen when John Jones is elbowing your face right on top of you.
You know, the reason for the aggression and the at the weigh-ins and at the stare down, you know, I don't like the trash talk. You know, I said that I would do all the talking in the octagon.
Number 8, Joanna Jędrzejczyk. Joanna Jędrzejczyk posted a video which showed her face was still black and blue after getting disfigured in her brutal UFC war with Zhang Weili. Jędrzejczyk endured a bruising 25-minute battle with the UFC strawweight champion Zhang at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas on March 7, 2020, losing a narrow decision, having fought through a bent nose elbows and
Damn,
2
look at her
hematomas
shit.
on both sides of her forehead.
Like E.T.
Photos from the fight show dramatic change in both fighters' faces,
that's
and
her?
the UFC released slow-mo footage which
like,
showed the
damn.
punches that caused Jacek to swell so much she was barely recognizable. Number 7, Jamie Varner's ankle. Varner suffered a brutal
you see
break
that
of his
shit,
left
Varner?
ankle in the first round of his fight against James Krause on that Saturday night of the UFC 173 event. But by the end of the first round, Varner was on the canvas saying his ankle was broken, and that was the end of the fight. Just to make matters worse, as Varner got to the stool, just after the fight had been called off, giving Krause a TKO win, the cage-side doctor accidentally stepped on his left foot and Varner grimaced in more pain. Number 6, Frank Mir vs Nogueira. In a clash between former UFC heavyweight champions, Mir faced Brazilian legend Antonio Rodrigo Minotauro Nogueira in the penultimate bout of the event. In the rematch, Minotauro looked as though he would avenge the loss when he rocked Mir with the right hand in the first round. Turtled up with Minotauro hammering away at his head, Mir looked all but out when he managed to reverse position on the ground and locked up a Kimura. Despite being in obvious pain, the battle-hardened Brazilian refused to tap until Mir actually snapped his arm. With this win, Mir had become the first man to knock out and submit Minotauro Nogueira. Number 5, Wendy Tomomi vs Rosie Sexton. Rosie Sexton vs Wendy Tomomi was perceived as a classic grappler vs striker contest when it was announced for Bodog fight in Costa Rica. Little did those watching know what they would eventually witness. About a minute into the round, Sexton got Tomomi's back and dragged her to the ground. Tomomi landed at an awkward angle and almost instantly you could hear her scream ring out throughout the venue.
Oh, you heard the snap.
And Rosie does take it to the ground. Look at this.
Oh, shit.
Position.
It's over with.
It's all over.
Look at that shit, man. Oh, my God.
Tomomi spent 4 months in the hospital to make a full recovery from surgery, which had complications and a subsequent infection. Number 4, Cyborg Santos' skull. The knee which
That's
sent
crazy
Cyborg
when
breathing
you
was strong
almost want
even
to
by
be over
MMA
with
standards.
because it's so
The
messed
fighter was
up.
not knocked out. Instead, he simply hit the ground, covering his head and shaking his legs in pain, unable to continue.
Just about everything you need in a fight, you lose off the liver shot. It
Boom,
can come
you
back.
need him in the face.
Runs into the jump knee, and it's over.
It was a pretty different scene from what we normally see.
Damn.
The
Damn.
X-ray posted by Chris
Ooh.
Cyborg shows multiple skull fractures just above her former husband's orbital bone. Thank God he's okay, because this is one of the nastiest sports injuries of all time. Number 3, Sage Northcutt. Nothing can stop
That's
Super
correct,
Sage
boy. It
Northcutt
got
from
to
being
be.
his chipper smiling self, not even multiple skull fractures. The former UFC prospect suffered a brutal loss in his one championship debut.
Damn.
If you're thinking that looked like it hurt, you'd be right. While Northcutt was up and walking around, shortly after the finish, a trip to the hospital revealed extensive damage was done. If that doesn't stop the kid from smiling, I don't know what does. Number 2, Rob Evans. In October of 2003, the 4th edition of long-defunct UK-based promotion Cage Rage was
That's
held
my
at
guy
Caesars
there.
nightclub in London. One of the 13 fights was a bout between submission specialist Ross Pettifer and brawler Rob Evans, who was making his professional debut. The fight was over in just 4 seconds. Evans snapped his shin in 2 with the first leg kick
Oh,
he threw,
shit,
and as
what
you can
the
see in the
freak?
video, that
Oh
part is
my
almost
God,
at a right
see
angle
that
to the rest
fucking
of his
leg?
leg.
Immediately, the bone snapped immediately.
Damn, look at that shit, man. Oh, my God.
We could see the damage to the legs ourselves, but it says incredible amounts.
Quit showing it. Turn this shit look like a damn
While this was all
mannequin.
going on, you can see Ross pulling out a frat boy, who do you know here impression, which, not classy at all. Number 1, Mike Florio vs Jim Elmer. In November of 2013, the Orleans Hotel and Casino played
Hope this
host
ain't
to
the
Tough and
outpost,
Up, future
man.
stars of MMA. In the first round, after a few exchanges, Elmer managed to pull Florio's leg out from under him and dump him on the floor. What the crowd saw next is easily the most nauseating and gut-churning MMA injury of all time.
Oh, it ain't happened yet.
Due to the
Yeah.
force of the takedown,
Oh,
not
you
only had
seen that?
Florio's leg broken,
It snapped
but his
behind
shin
him.
bone had pierced the skin and was visible. Neither man fought again after that terrifying experience. Honestly, nothing but respect for all these MMA fighters putting their health on the line just to keep us entertained. And thankfully, that right there concludes this list. Alright MMA fans, thank you so much for sticking around to the end of this video. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, make sure to hit the notification bell, and don't forget to subscribe.